Parents, what's the most stupid thing your kid did the moment you stopped watching them? My 4-year-old daughter Pony is what child psychologists would politely call spirited. What I call her is a tiny tornado in pigtails who treats every day like a mission to test the limits of human sanity. Last Saturday, my wife had to work, leaving me alone with Pony for the entire day. I thought I had everything under control. I'd child-proofed the house, planned activities, and even bribed her with the promise of ice cream if she was good. Everything was going surprisingly well until around 2 p.m. when I decided to use the bathroom. Just a quick 2-minute break. What could possibly happen in 2 minutes? Pony, Daddy's going to the bathroom. Stay right here and watch cartoons, okay? Okay, Daddy, she said sweetly, not even looking away from the TV. I should have known that angelic voice was a trap. I was literally gone for 90 seconds. 90 seconds. When I came back, the living room looked like a crime scene. Pony was standing in the middle of the chaos, covered head to toe in what I initially thought was blood, but quickly realized was ketchup. Pony, what did you do? I asked, trying to stay calm. I made art, Daddy, she announced proudly, gesturing to the walls like she was presenting a masterpiece. She had somehow gotten into the kitchen, grabbed the entire bottle of ketchup, and used it to paint abstract designs all over our white living room walls. But that wasn't even the worst part. Our cat, Mr. Whiskers, was sitting in the corner looking traumatized and completely red, like he'd been dipped in ketchup. Pony had apparently decided he needed to be painted too. Pony, how did you even reach the ketchup? It was on the top shelf. She pointed proudly to the kitchen chairs she'd somehow stacked on top of each other like a tiny furniture pyramid. This kid had built a makeshift ladder system in under 2 minutes. But wait, it gets worse. As I'm standing there trying to process the ketchup disaster, I hear this weird bubbling sound coming from the kitchen. I rush over to find that Pony had also managed to turn on the sink, plug the drain, and add an entire bottle of dish soap. The kitchen sink was overflowing with bubbles, and soapy water was cascading onto the floor like a sudsy waterfall. I was making a bubble bath for my toys, Pony explained, as if this was completely logical. Her toys, every single stuffed animal she owned, were floating in the soapy flood like survivors of the Titanic. I'm frantically trying to turn off the water and unplug the drain when I hear another sound that makes my blood run cold. The smoke detector. I run back to the living room to find that Pony had somehow turned on the fireplace, which we never use, and was trying to cook a piece of bread by holding it near the flames with a kitchen fork. Pony, no! I screamed, lunging to grab the fork from her tiny hands. I was making toast like Mommy, she protested as I quickly turned off the fireplace. At this point, I'm standing in my flooded kitchen, covered in ketchup, holding a soggy piece of bread, with a red cat hiding under the couch, and my daughter looking at me like I'm the one being unreasonable. That's when the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find my elderly neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, holding a plate of cookies and looking concerned. I heard the smoke alarm and wanted to make sure everything was okay, she said, then stopped mid-sentence as she took in my appearance. I was covered in ketchup and soap bubbles, holding a fork and a piece of wet bread, with my hair sticking up in every direction. Behind me, Pony chose that exact moment to run past wearing nothing but her underwear and my wife's high heels, chasing our traumatized red cat while singing Let It Go at the top of her lungs. Mrs. Henderson just stared for a moment, then slowly backed away and said, I'll just leave these cookies on the porch. After she left, I looked at Pony, who was now trying to put a diaper on the cat, and said, Pony, why did you do all this? She looked up at me with those big innocent eyes and said, because you were gone for so long, Daddy. I got bored. 90 seconds. She got bored in 90 seconds. It took me 4 hours to clean up her 2-minute masterpiece. The ketchup stains are still on the wall because apparently ketchup is basically permanent when applied by a determined preschooler. When my wife came home and saw the aftermath, she just looked at me and said, let me guess, you went to the bathroom for 90 seconds, I said weakly. She patted my shoulder sympathetically. Next time, take her with you. Pony is currently napping, and I'm sitting here writing this while keeping one eye on the baby monitor. What's the smartest way you tested which family members actually loved you? I faked my own death to see who would actually show up to my funeral. I know it sounds extreme, but after years of feeling invisible in my own family, I needed to know the truth. My parents had always favored my older brother Marcus. He was the golden child, star athlete, straight A's, full scholarship to Stanford. I was just the quiet younger son who barely got noticed. Family gatherings were the worst. Everyone would crowd around Marcus, asking about his achievements while I sat in the corner like furniture. How's medical school, Marcus? When are you getting married? We're so proud of you. Meanwhile, I'd graduated college with honors and started my own business, but nobody ever asked about my life. Last Christmas was the breaking point. I announced that my company had just landed a major contract worth $500,000. My aunt literally said, that's nice, honey, then immediately turned back to Marcus to discuss his residency program. That's when I decided to conduct my experiment. I spent 3 months planning it carefully. First, I moved to a different state and told everyone I was taking time to find myself. Then I had my best friend Jake, who lived across the country, call my family with devastating news. There's been an accident, Jake told my mom, his voice shaking with fake emotion. David was hiking alone in Colorado. He fell off a cliff. They found his body this morning. I listened to the whole conversation on speakerphone from Jake's apartment. My mom screamed. She was genuinely devastated. We need to plan a funeral, she sobbed. We need to bring him home. Jake told her I'd wanted to be cremated and have a simple memorial service in Colorado, where I died. He left specific instructions, Jake lied. He wanted everyone who truly cared about him to come say goodbye. The memorial was scheduled for the following Saturday. I rented a small chapel in Denver and hired someone to pose as the funeral director. Then I waited to see who would actually show up. My parents drove 14 hours from Ohio. They were there by Friday night. My mom had made a photo collage of our family memories. My dad brought my childhood baseball glove to place on the memorial table. Marcus flew in from Boston, crying at the airport when Jake picked him up. But here's where it got interesting. My aunt and uncle, who lived just 2 states away, didn't come. We can't afford the trip right now, my aunt told my mom over the phone, but we're thinking of him. My cousins, who I'd grown up with, sent a generic sympathy card. My grandmother, who always claimed I was her special boy, said she was too old to travel. Out of 23 family members, only 6 showed up. The memorial service was heartbreaking to watch from my hiding spot in the back. My mom spoke about how proud she was of me, how she wished she'd told me more often. Marcus broke down completely, saying he'd been been a terrible brother and wished he could apologize. My dad, who never showed emotion, cried while reading a letter he'd written to me, but never sent. I know I wasn't good at showing it, he said through tears, but David was my hero. He was kind and smart and everything I wished I could be. I almost revealed myself right then, but I waited until after the service. I walked into the hotel where my parents and Marcus were staying. My mom fainted when she saw me. Marcus punched me in the face, then hugged me while crying. My dad just stared at me for 5 minutes before saying, "You brilliant, stupid kid." After the shock wore off, I explained why I'd done it. I needed to know who actually cared, I said. Not who felt obligated to care, but who would drop everything to be here. My mom was hurt, but understood. "We failed you," she said quietly. "We made you feel invisible." The fake funeral changed everything. My parents started calling me weekly instead of just on holidays. Marcus and I became genuinely close for the first time in our lives, and the family members who didn't show up, we stopped pretending we had relationships. My aunt was furious when she found out the truth. "How could you put us through that?" she demanded. "You didn't go through anything," I replied. "You sent a card. It's been 2 years since my death. My real family is smaller now, but it's genuine."